Is the American dream dead for most millennials and Gen Zs? We've all heard stories on how difficult it is to now become a millionaire, but can we still do it? Yes, we can, and much sooner than what some of you may be thinking. Let me show you how this is possible through the story of Frank. I'll be breaking down all revenue, expenses, and investments, and show you how you can also become a millionaire within 20 years earning a very average salary and living in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Make sure to stick around until the end to find out how. Meet Frugal Frank. Frank is a 22-year-old living in San Francisco, California. Frank read a few books on personal finances and watched many YouTube videos on how to achieve financial freedom. He's become extremely frugal as he understands the importance of money. Frank recently graduated from college with average grades and accumulated $20,000 in student loan debt. He's not particularly talented, but thanks to the thriving job market in 2021, he was very fortunate to find an entry-level position right out of college. His new employer offered him $40,000 per year, which he gladly accepted, and this is how much Frank made in his very first year of working. With a gross salary of $40,000, his employer withheld about $7,540 to pay for personal income taxes and Social Security, leaving him with take-home pay of $32,460. With what's left, Frank pays $200 per month in health insurance. Frank understands that a car is a depreciating asset and made the wise decision to take public transportation instead. He spends about $100 per month in train and bus fares. Frank is a big fitness enthusiast. He understands the importance of health and despite his frugality, is willing to spend $90 a month on gym membership. He also spends about $90 on his phone bill. Frank gets along very well with his family and decided to move back in with his parents to save on rent, but he still pays for food and spends about $400 a month. Finally, Frank sets aside about $100 per month for discretionary spending, such as shopping and the odd meal out with his friends. His total expenses for the year is $11,600. With his remaining savings of about $20,700, Frank decides to repay his student loan debt in its entirety. With interest being so low, he's aware that repaying the minimum amount and investing the balance should have a higher return. But Frank does not want to worry about his debt going forward and clears the entire loan amount within a year after graduation. After repayment of the student loan debt, Frank is now debt-free and has $700 left in his bank account. He opened up a Roth IRA account and contributed the entire $700. He invested all $700 into an index fund tracking the S&P 500. Although there will be fluctuations in the short term, Frank is aware that the S&P 500 consistently returns 8% over a year, so he's planning to invest all residual cash going forward and will not sell until he has to. The next year, Frank's boss gave him a 3% raise on his annual salary and told him that this was for an increase due to inflation. But Frank sees that all of his expenses have increased by 5%, so he suspects that his real wage actually went down. But Frank has a very traditional way of thinking and decides to keep working and climb the corporate ladder. At the end of the second year, Frank is left with about $21,000, and since he's now repaid all of his student loan, he invested all $21,000. Frank got really excited as he sees that he made $56 in passive income from the $700 he had invested last year. He ends the year with a portfolio of just over $21,000, and the same thing happens the following year. Now, at the age of 25, things are starting to get very interesting for Frank. His boss recognizes his effort and high-quality work over the past 4 years and decided to promote him to a manager position. With the promotion, Frank receives a $20,000 raise, bringing his gross income to over $62,000, and he's now eligible for a 5% 401k employer matching, and he is planning to take full advantage of that. But even as his salary increases, Frank continues to live well below his means and keeps his expenses at a minimum. At the end of the year, Frank's stock portfolio is just under $80,000, and together with his 401k, his net worth is now at $85,000, which is already fairly impressive relative to his peers in his age group. The next 4 years are fairly uneventful for Frank. He continues to receive a 3% inflation-adjusted salary increase every year and continues to live well below his means. And just before turning 30, Frank has a total net worth of $293,000. At the age of 30, Frank decides to leave his company, and with his last 8 years of experience, he was able to find a higher paying position of $100,000. He was also very thrilled about the $10,000 annual bonus that his new company offered. Even at this new salary, Frank continues to live very frugally and kept his expenses the same as when he had just graduated from college. His net worth at the age of 30 is $375,000. The next year, Frank meets the love of his life and decides to get married. Although they have the same financial goals, both Frank and his wife decides that it's best for both of them to keep their finances separate. During the same year, Frank and his wife decide to purchase a home in San Francisco. Home prices are very expensive, but they were able to find an apartment unit for $1 million. They are both co-owners and will be sharing the mortgage and all expenses. Frank and his wife are putting 20% down, so Frank liquidates $100,000 of his stocks and paid $10,000 of capital gains tax on the sale. While most expenses remain the same, Frank and his wife now enjoy economies of scale of living together, and he's able to save a little bit on food. That year, Frank also spent about $20,000 for engagement and wedding-related expenses. And on top of that, he now has to pay his portion of the utilities, homeowner insurance, property taxes, and interest on mortgage. Frank is left with $500 for investment, for which he decided to contribute all into his 401k to take advantage of the employer matching. And over the next 3 years, thanks to the power of compounding, after 13 years of consistently saving and investing, Frank's net worth at age 34 is $732,000. At that point, Frank and his wife decide to have a child, and while most expenses remain fairly consistent over the next couple of years, the new parents are now setting aside $20,000 a year in child-related expenses. And after 16 years of consistently living below his means and investing every single penny, Frank is now a millionaire at age 37. Reflecting back, Frank attributes his success to the following: having a plan and budget. Without a plan, it is very easy to lose track of monthly spending. Living below his means. Frank never purchased a car to impress people he never liked. Investing. With so much uncertainty on the current economic environment, Frank understands that holding on to cash is losing money to inflation every year. He started investing in the stock market and then real estate as soon as he could. While earnings did increase from year to year, over 40% of his net worth at the end is made up of gains from investment accumulated over the year. Minimize on living expenses. Frank was very fortunate that he was able to move back home for almost 10 years and recognizes that this is not an option for a lot of people. But to the extent possible, he encourages everyone who is in the same position to do so, since rent is the most expensive item that we spend our money on every month. Where not possible, think about renting with a roommate or a house hack to decrease monthly expenses as much as possible. Sharpening your skills. Frank started with a salary of $40,000 a year, but was able to increase that salary to over 6 figures in 10 years as he worked continuously on improving his skills and making himself more valuable to his employer over time. Taking advantage of employer benefits. 401k matching can almost be viewed as free money to employees. Where it is offered to you, please take it. Frank was able to earn almost $60,000 from just employer 401k matching over the years. And that is Frank's story. Hope this video can be helpful to at least one person out there. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe, as this really helps me out. See you in the next one.